Welcome to Ask the Maester Live. Here's me as Tyrion kissing Sansa's hand. Thank you for joining us. Tuesdays at noon Pacific. It's, the show where I answer your questions about Game of Thrones, the latest episode. The Long Night aired Sunday, longest episode in Game of Thrones history. People died, but not a lot of people died. Not a lot of notable people. Maybe we'll talk about that. Here to answer your questions about that and everything Game of Thrones. So why don't we just dive into it? Oh, I should mention that Mallory Rubin, my co-host on Binge Mode, co-host on Ask the Maester, is under the weather today. She's got a pretty serious case of grayscale that we're busy scaling that off. Debridement. The debridement process is ongoing, and we hope that goes smoothly. Wish her the best. First question. Let's see, Kent. Hey. So can we talk about exactly WTF the Night King is? My guess, after seeing him walk unscathed from Drogon, is that he might be an ancient Targaryen with, that dragon blood of the dragon stuff, etc. So I covered this in my column. We should recall that during the planning meeting from the previous episode, when Jon was like, yes, let's build a trench behind my troops so they can't escape. That's a good idea. Then I'll send the Dothraki out unsupported into the night and just hope it comes out okay. During that planning meeting, Bran was like, it was asked, Dragonfire, will it hurt him? And he's like, I don't know. Nobody's ever tried it. I don't think that he's an ancient Targaryen. I think more likely the reasoning that Dragonfire didn't harm him and that obsidian blades and Valyrian steel do is that it has something to do with fire, heat from the earth rather than Dragonfire. So the question I was asked in the column was that, so if Dragonfire is used to forge Valyrian steel, why does Dragonfire not kill a White Walker or the Night King? Couple things. Dragonfire, George has said in interviews that Dragonfire was used to forge Valyrian steel. So that's pretty canonical. At the same time, he hasn't written it. So we can't say for sure that it was used until he writes that in an actual story, as part of the story. But it's suggested, heavily suggested, and we can assume that that is the case. Despite that, there was a lot of other things that went into forging Valyrian steel. Magic, we assume, was also used as part of the forging process. So perhaps it was the spells that were woven into the metal that make it so light and durable that is the reason that they can kill White Walkers. Also, the ores that metal was that went into forging that metal came from deep inside these volcanoes called the 14 Flames. And obsidian, we should note, is volcanic glass. So there's a connection there. Some kind of the heat and flames of volcanoes, something about like the embodiment of flame coming up from the earth and being embodied in either dragon glass or Valyrian steel. We can assume that that is the reason that Valyrian steel and obsidian have their killing power. And therefore, it wouldn't necessarily follow that Dragonflame would also kill him, since Dragonflame was used to forge Valyrian steel. So I don't think that it's the case that he's an ancient Targaryen. Also, like when we see him being made, it just seems like he's just some kind of first man guy. One of the early members of the First Men, who were the first human inhabitants of Westeros. So I think it's doubtful that he's an ancient Targaryen. Also, the whole thing with Daenerys being the blood of the dragon and not being burned is a show change. I'll dive into that in a bit. I think there's a question about that, I believe. Jason asks, what do you think Bran was doing while at the Weirwood tree? It's a great question. We know he was scouting at one point because he goes into the Ravens and finds the Night King riding Viserion and just like calling his minions. At the same time, not super useful since like Bran didn't come out and be like, hey, I found him. I saw him. He just kind of was in there, chilling, doing bird stuff. Maybe he was, he could have been going back through the histories trying to find out if what kind of other solutions there were to the Long Night 8,000 years previously. Mallory and I have a kind of theory that Bran is some kind of like guardian of like timelines and stuff. Like they call him the memory of the world, but also like what if, cycles are such a huge part of the symbolism and themes of Game of Thrones. So what if he and the previous three-eyed ravens were kind of surfing the timelines, making sure that things, those paradoxes that Bran was able to create with making Hodor into Willis, making sure stuff like that happens again. Important things happen again. Like the reason the Targaryens escaped the doom of Valyria, which killed all the other Dragon Lords except them, was Daenerys the Dreamer, who was the daughter of the Targaryen Dragon Lord of the time. This is like 112 years ago or something like that. Had a dream that this was gonna, like, Valyria was gonna be destroyed. So what if it's whoever the three-eyed raven was at that particular time was the one who told her that in order to keep things moving towards this conclusion where light conquers darkness. So maybe he was doing that kind of stuff. I hope they explain it. Let's see. Sal asks, do you think we will learn more about the Children of the Forest and what all went down with when they created the Night King in a future prequel maybe? And how many Night Kings have been made? And was Bran really the only reason that he came south when he did? I would assume, considering that the prequel that we know is in production is about the time in Westeros around the Long Night, the first Long Night, that we just simply have to learn more about the Children of the Forest in that case. Whether we get it in this show, there's a chance, obviously, because Bran, with the Night King out, what is there left for Bran to do? He had that big conversation with Tyrion that is still left hanging from episode 2. That has to get paid off somehow. So clearly Bran is going to have more to say to us. But whether he's going to have more to say involving like deep history in the Children of the Forest, I kind of doubt. It kind of feels like the Long Night Battle of Winterfell was like the goodbye to magic. Melisandre dead, Beric dead, the Night King gone. It kind of feels like, okay, let's move the magic stuff to the side and like deal with the politics and succession and what the political situation in Westeros looks like going forward. As for, is that the only reason he went south? No, I think that clearly, while the Night King clearly is like trying to kill the three-eyed raven, it seems like, the Long Night previously was about the White Walkers came south and they just like raided almost the entire continent as far as the histories say. So I think like, yes, Bran was one reason, but I think that they were gonna spread out across the world regardless. Let us see. Oh, here we go. Uncle Ken. Parenthetical, Ricky's uncle. Oh, whoa.
Yeah. He's a big fan.
Uncle Ken, what's up? What's special about Dany that she's immune to heat, fire? Jon isn't, Viserys wasn't. Great question. So this is a show change. This is different than in the books. In the books, Dany, in the end of Game of Thrones, the book, Dany puts Drogo on the funeral pyre, ties Mirri Maz Duur to it, has the dragon eggs all set up. Jorah's begging her not to do it. Don't walk into the flames. And she's like, whatever, dude. Like, just shut up. be in love with me and calm down. I'll be fine. Walks into the flames, and obviously the dragon eggs hatch. George has stated that was a one-time thing. Something about the confluence of events with Drogo and Mirri Maz Duur being the sacrifice and her own willingness to walk into the flames created some kind of strong magic that protected her and rebirthed dragons back into the world. It does not then follow that she is impervious to flames. Now, that's the thing the show changed, right? We remember when she, early in season 1, she picks the dragon egg up off the brazier, puts it in the brazier and reaches in, and Irie's like, "What are you doing? You can burn yourself." She's like, "No, I'm not." And she takes scalding hot baths and is impervious to fire in many, many ways, kills the Khals with fire all around her. So that is a show change. What is that meant to signify? Just that she is special, not even just among people in the world, but among Targaryens in general, since Viserys obviously got by melted gold. Gold that melted incredibly fast, by the way. Khal Drogo melted the gold in 30 seconds. That was hot. So it's just meant to signify that Dany, in particular, is special. We should also remember that Jon got burned early in season 1 when he was protecting Lord Commander Mormont from the Whites that had been taken south of the Wall because they were Black brothers, and they had come alive, attacked Lord Commander Mormont, and Jon took up a lamp, threw it at them, and burned his hand in the process. So Jon, even though he is has the blood of the Targaryen family running in his veins, perhaps because he's half Targaryen, Stark and Targaryen, doesn't have that same kind of protection that Dany does. Dany is special. Let us see. Same question. Is this also from Uncle Ken?
I don't think it's
Yeah. I like this question, though. Tyrion said many times he would double whatever Bronn is offered. I know he's a sellsword, but I can't believe he'll betray Jaime and Tyrion. Well, we'll see. I gotta say, who's gonna give him the house? This is the thing. It's Jaime and Tyrion, it's talk, and the Venmo never comes. Never comes. A lot of talk. Yes, you've paid me, and I'm Bronn of the Blackwater now. I've got the title. That's great. Where is the house and the wife and all that stuff? It's never happened. Everybody's talking like it's going to happen, and it doesn't seem like it's going to happen. If Cersei steps up and really does it, friendship only goes so far. Mal and I have a theory that Bronn, of course, was given the crossbow that Tyrion used to kill Tywin on the toilet, and was told, kill them with this, should they survive the Battle of Winterfell and come south. Very poetic. Mal and I believe that Bronn's going to take the shot, he's going to miss, and hit Brienne? And that's what's going to drive Jaime murderously into a murderous rage. That's going to be the thing. So take that with whatever grain of salt and bread you want to. YouTube questions. Let's see. Is there any evidence that Bran has seen the future? He talks a lot about the past, but what are examples of him seeing the future? I think clearly Bran's ability to see the future is pretty limited. Maybe he gets hints, and he's clearly able to hint at things. But when he was asked, when Jaime was made a comment about, after this, and he was like, "You're so sure there's going to be an after," also was not able to answer whether Dragonfire would or would not harm the Night King. So clearly, Bran, I think, still struggling with the breadth of his powers, isn't able to see the future. Maybe that will come with experience. Certainly not in the same way as Melisandre can, but even Melisandre, who's able to see stuff, is I don't know, 50, she's a 50% shooter with actually understanding what it means. She was able to look into the flames and see the Bolton banners falling down on Winterfell, and see Stannis walking the walls and stuff like that. She was almost right, but she wasn't didn't truly know what that meant. She kept thinking that Stannis was the prince that was promised when it's either Jon or some combination of Jon and Dany together. Also notable that neither of them killed the Night King. It was Aria, so what does that mean for whether she is the prince that was promised? Everybody in this world who can prophesize stuff is mainly wrong. I like the theory that the reason the Night King never fought Jon or never tried to kill him was that he really did think Jon was the prince that was promised and therefore was like avoiding him. So yeah, Bran, even if Bran could see the future, it's doubtful that he'd be able to like accurately convey what that meant. Matt, if George R.R. Martin doesn't finish the books, how dare you? How dare you put that energy into this live stream? Matt, if George R.R. Martin doesn't finish the books and they approach you to ghostwrite or co-write the end based on his outlines, notes, and ideas, would you do it? What do you mean, would I do it? F yes. Can I curse on this?
Sure.
Fuck yeah, I'd do that shit. Are you kidding? Sign the check. Talk to my agent. I'll put you in touch. I'll give you my spec script that's just Game of Thrones sex scenes. Yeah, of course. But honestly, a real question, real answer, I would not be surprised if, World of Ice and Fire, which is the kind of compendium of history of Westeros and world history of the world that encompasses the A Song of Ice and Fire series, was co-written by Elio and Linda, the two people who run the A Song of Ice and Fire forum and website. I don't know what that relationship was, but I would assume but it was not a ghostwritten, obviously, situation. They wrote a lot of the material, and then I assume George edited and added his own thing or gave direction, whatever that relationship was like. So that is a thing that happens, that has happened before within this realm. So I would not be surprised to see them do something like that with George. Also, if George doesn't finish the books, it's ominous, man. I'll say this. Whether or not he finishes, and he has said that he doesn't want anybody else to finish his story. Let's say he doesn't finish because, for whatever reason, there's too much money on the table for them not to finish it. They'll finish it. That book series will be finished by someone, whether or not he does it. That's just my take. Periscope. Old Town JG. Little burner. Why are there no red priestesses other than Melisandre, interested in the fate of Westeros? Couldn't she have rolled in with 40 witches, all of whom could summon fire? Shouts to my Kinvara Flame of Truth heads. Where's Kinvara at? Kinvara came in so hot for an episode in, what was it, season 6? When Dany was gone, disappeared with the Dothraki, and she came in. Tyrion and Varys were running the meeting, and she just came up and was like, Varys, do you want me to describe the voice that you heard when the fire wizard, cut off your parts? Do you want me to tell you what he said to you? And Varys was like, oh, shit. What? And then Kinvara, never seen again. So I think the reason, first of all, I think that there are clearly red priests and priestesses of R'hllor interested in the fate of Westeros, since it's such a titanic battle between fire and ice, light and dark, which is just very much up their alley. It's basically what their entire religious text is. So yes, I think that they're interested. I think it's mainly the issue is I don't think that the show is super comfortable with the magical elements of having to explain it and all that kind of stuff. I think that's part of it. And I also think that, Mel came in and did a lot. She punched way above her weight. She came in, lit all the Araks of the Dothraki on fire, which is she didn't have that before. She went to Essos, came back with some, like, had leveled up her character, like, added some hit points, added some new ultimate abilities, like, put a lot of her, like, experience points into, like, fire magic, and just came with some new stuff. Her RPG character was built up. It was like a level 30. She had capped out, lit the fire trench on fire, and then was like, Aria, you're going to kill the Night King. She did a lot, so I don't think we needed the 40 witches. Also, Beric was there too. So, like, they had it. They had some good stuff. Snappy Ned, is Sonic the Hedgehog in Lyanna's crypt? Sonic, disgusting. Why does Sonic have teeth is a question we've been asking ourselves. Why is Sonic in the real world anyway? We don't need this. Nobody asked for gritty Sonic the Hedgehog. That's enough. Let's see. Dennis, any chance that the Tyrion-Sansa reunion has some resonance for the end of the series? Yeah, they were married. That marriage was, whatever happened to that marriage, it was like, it's very ambiguous, like, the state of it. Yes, she married Ramsay afterward, but, as Lyanna noted when they had that meeting trying to get, support for the Battle of the Bastards, she's like, who are you? Are you a Lannister, a wife of the Lannister, wife of the Bolton? Like, who are you? Who are you wedded to? Nobody really knows. So I think just politically speaking, joining Lannister and Stark houses from a purely political perspective is really something that the realm would need, that kind of stability. What it would, just in terms of what it would say for, the prospects for peace going forward. These two houses that went to war, and the war was devastating and really was extremely destructive for much of the realm. And to, like, that symbolic gesture to say, okay, Sansa and Tyrion back together, the lion and the wolf will not go to war, at least for the foreseeable future. I think that would be something the realm would really want. Also, should note, the show is really setting up like Sansa is the only one who knows what she's doing. Jon, love my guy Jon, excellent soldier. He's a great leader because he doesn't want to be the leader. His battle plans are not always great. They're not always the best. Taking on the Bolton cavalry, like, by himself, I think those were extenuating circumstances in the sense that, like, he probably wanted to die at that point, but, like, his battle plan for Winterfell, not super good. I'm going to send the Dothraki out. Hey, the Dothraki can shoot flaming arrows. Don't use any of that. Just send them into the darkness. Because why? Also, like, the flaming trench behind... The fact that how many Unsullied literally died to hold that flaming trench? Fight behind the trench. Fight behind it. And can we get more than one barrage on the siege weapons? Like, we're just going to fire those bad daddies once and that's it and we're out? Sansa's the only one who's out here like, why is there no leather on that armor? Let's make sure that we have enough food for everyone. Also, wagons, you need wagons? We'll get the wagons going. Like, she's just in charge of stuff. So Sansa is going to play a big role going forward. Let's see. This is a great question I'll take one more from Periscope. What are Jon's motivations now? Jeff asks. He was so singularly focused on saving humanity and defending the North. Is he going to be as eager as Dany and even Sansa in wanting to fight so soon to overtake King's Landing? Yeah, Jon is like a one-issue candidate. The Night King. He looked into his eyes. We have to fight him. The Great War. You don't understand. We need the dragon glass. Blah, 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 blah. I think now, considering that the sacrifice, I think that this is going to be important going forward. One, because of the tensions between he and Dany now that Dany knows that Jon has a great claim to the throne as the son of Rhaegar Targaryen, the former crown prince of Westeros. And as a dragon rider, it's just like his legitimacy goes up several levels. That said, I think he's going to feel a real responsibility to back Dany up in taking the Iron Throne back because she really laid out for him in coming north. She didn't have to do any of this stuff. She could have been like, good, take care of that dead people stuff. Like, I'm going to invest my time and efforts into taking the Red Keep. You deal with the north as you want to, and we'll meet up later after. But she really... she really invested a huge amount of time and resources, lost her whole army? I don't know. Like lost a huge chunk of her army. All the Dothraki, except for like 8 dudes, dead. So I think Jon is going to feel a responsibility to back her up. But like those fault lines remain. Let's see. Twitch. Who is less clutch in a closeout game, Sandor Clegane or James Harden? This is evil. Well, I'll tell you who's not going to complain about the refs.
Oh my God.
I'll tell you who's not going to write a report about the reffing. It's definitely not going to be the Hound. The Hound is not going to be like, please read my report on the Battle of Winterfell and how actually I was brave. Oh, Meep! Look at this. Steph Snowden asks, it looks like Clegane Bowl is on, but can the Hound actually beat his dead-ass GMO brother? Does he need a legendary sword or some magic? I think he can beat him. It's going to be very tough because obviously, like, his brother is half dead, not even alive. We're not even sure, like, what the status of, can you wound him? And does it matter? Like, what kind of undead is he? We've seen several kinds of undead throughout the course of the show. There's the ice version, White Walker version, undead. You can chop off their arms and legs, but they keep coming unless you, like, destroy the body such that it doesn't matter anymore. Even then, the hand will twitch unless you stab them with like dragon glass, Valyrian steel, or burn them. Then there is the kind of the Benjen Stark version, which seems to be some kind of version of the white undead, but halted in some way with magic that the Children of the Forest can provide. And then we've seen the fire resuscitation, which is Jon, Beric, etc. It seems like the Mountain is a different thing. The Mountain is like a true Frankenstein. Like Qyburn has done something really unique among the 7 kingdoms, but what does that mean for his ability to withstand pain and injury? We don't know. I think it's going to be a great fight. I think, obviously the Mountain's going to be a little stiff. When you're dead, like, is he limber enough? Is he limber enough to, we saw him really struggle with a very fast and mercurial foe with Oberyn, who would have won if he would have just zipped it. So I think it's going to be a good fight. Facebook, is Aria the last hero? No, I think that, it's a great question. I think that, I think we're going to see as we go forward that the prophecies are less one-to-one than we expect them to be. Certainly, last hero stuff seemed to me like it. Yeah, I think Aria, some combination of Aria and Jon Beyond the Wall are the last hero, but I think much like with the Prince That Was Promised, we're going to see those kind of definitions apply to more than one person going forward. Let's see. Gideon, can Arya wear the Night King's face to scare the crap out of Jon for kicks? Why not? That would be funny. That would be hilarious. Let's see. 2 more? A couple more. Let's do a couple more. Chris, why didn't the Night King turn Arya when he grabbed her? I mean, he didn't have a lot of time. It was like, we went to slow-mo there, right? So it was really like, if you count it up, it was like 2 seconds. And one thing we know about the Night King, obviously from his slow-ass walk into the Godswood, and all his smirking and stuff, is that my dude is like very arrogant. He's been waiting thousands of years to do this. And he's just like gonna stroll into the club with his dudes behind him, and you'd think you'd run up, like, oh, here it is. Finally. I've been waiting 8,000 years for this. Let me kill this guy. But no, he's got to, like, walk up, and he's got to, like, look at everybody and be like, I'm about to do this. And I think it's, like, the same issue that Oberyn had, where he just wanted to floss a little too much. And That's why he didn't do it. Sarah, do you think all magic, including dragons, will be destroyed by the end of the season? I don't think so. Bran is obviously still alive, so that's magic. Aria can do faceless men stuff, so that's kind of magic. I do, however, I wouldn't be surprised to see us lose one more dragon, lose another one. So, like, the Golden Company, they're pros. Or do they have more big crossbow? Are they ready with more big crossbow? Certainly Cersei has been thinking about how to kill another dragon, so I wouldn't be surprised to see one go down. But I think magic, despite the show's kind of clunkiness with the magical elements, I think we get another one. How much? Anvil from YouTube asks, Anvil C5. How much danger was Drogon in from the Whites? Would their weapons be effective against his scales? The scales dragon scales are extremely hardy and thick, and Drogon is a full-grown dragon, so he's got he's not impervious, but he's can really resist blows. That said, during the Dance of Dragons, when civilians and just various people from the city of King's Landing fired up into a religious fervor, stormed the dragon pit, and attacked the dragons inside, many, many people died, but they did manage to kill several dragons, just because of the sheer numbers of them. So yeah, I think given enough time, they could have killed him, for sure. If they got up close to his head and managed to strike him in the eyes and blind him, and then just by brute force managed to saw through his scales, it could have happened. It's happened before, and that was with humans as the attackers, not these undead whites that never get tired and are not afraid of a dragon. This was people who did it. So yeah, they could have killed him. They could have really hurt him. Twitch from Twitch, useless sidekick asks, is the Night King like Michael Jordan been in retirement too long? It's tough beat for the Night King. Again, waiting thousands of years to do this and coming up short. I mean, he almost had it. Why not let one of your white... I guess there's some kind of reason that he has to do it. It has to be him. It can't be like one of his 500 whites that were watching to do it, or send one of his guys to do it. He's got to do it. That's important for reasons that hopefully they'll explain at some point. I will say that it's also important to remember that the Night King is a total creation of the show. The Night King in the books is a reference to the 13th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. So some years after the Long Night, Night's Watch is established. We get to 13 Lord Commanders, however that many is. So it's possible the Long Night was still within living memory at that time. 13th Lord Commander is up on the wall by Night Watch, the Night Fort, which at that time was the headquarters of the Night's Watch. He sees a pale woman who we suspect is an other, but it's never really defined as a white. Sees this White Walker woman, we assume, goes to her, falls in love with her. They bone down. He brings her back to the Night Fort, and they establish they bewitch his brothers, and they basically carve out this evil kingdom based on human sacrifice to the White Walkers, and it takes a alliance between the Stark King in the north and the King beyond the wall in order to bring him down. And all records of his time as 13th Lord Commander were then purged. So that he called himself the Knights, '*S, Knights King, not the Night King. So they basically took the title and applied it to this character that they created as the leader of the White Walkers in the show. So very different in the books. Important to remember that the Night King is totally a creation of the show. So any kind of lack of backstory is understandable in the sense that he doesn't have a backstory that you can call on from the books. That's it. Well, friends, what a wonderful time we've had. You've been watching Ask the Maester Live. We're doing this every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, where we're talking about the latest episode of Game of Thrones, and any question that you have, please tune in to The Ringer, our podcasts, the website, our videos, where we're covering Game of Thrones like a bad rug is covering a floor. we're covering it, man. There's the Recapables, which comes out Friday. There's Talk the Thrones, our after show.
Thursday show.
Oh, there's the Talk the Thrones, which not only airs after the East Coast airing of Game of Thrones Sunday nights on Twitter, it's also airing this week, and this week only, Thursday at 4 Pacific. 4 Pacific?
Yep.
At 4 Pacific, and we'll be talking about the season to date. All your faves. Chris Ryan, Mallory Rubin, myself. That's it. Just those three, your favorite people. Also, Binge Mode, stay tuned. Binge Mode comes out Wednesday nights, Thursday mornings. Got that. The Watch will be talking about Game of Thrones. It's just a bevy of Game of Thrones coverage here at theringer.com, a great website. Thanks for tuning in. Valar Margulis, Valar Dohyrus, Valar my ragtime gal. See you next week.